Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we will be discussing letters of demand and how pivotal it is to combat your defaulting tenants. Your response to a defaulting tenant must be done swiftly. If your rent is due and payable on the 1st of the month and your tenant fails to do so, make sure you are sending out letters of demand on the 2nd of the month. We understand that the litigation process is costly and time-consuming, and that is why the TPN system allows for soft collection tools, letters of demand being at the forefront. I am now going to direct you to our TPN system. If you are submitting data, this is what your dashboard will look like. I'm going to direct you towards the My Data tab that you can find at the top of the page. Today, we will be dealing with Joe blogs and Jane blogs. To get your tenants' information, this is where you will put the reference in and it will bring up their data. I am now going to direct you to the tab on the left-hand side. We are looking for the Letters tab under Listings. Now I'm going to show you step by step on how to send a letter of demand. There are two different letters of demand available on our TPN system. The first letter of demand is the 20 business day letter of demand. This letter of demand should be sent when you are dealing with a residential lease in its fixed term. The 7-day letter of demand should be sent when you are dealing with a commercial lease or a residential lease on a month-to-month basis. For purposes of today's video, I am going to be taking you through the steps of how to send a 20-day letter of demand. But the steps are exactly the same for sending a 7-day letter of demand. So you would click here to send the 20-day letter of demand. The first step is to select the tenant to notify. If you have 2 or more associated tenants on your lease, make sure you are sending the letter of demand to both tenants. So we will be selecting Joe blogs first to send the letter of demand to. Our next step deals with Cpa Compliance Check. Here you need to confirm the term of the lease. Is it a fixed term lease agreement or is it a month-to-month lease agreement? So we are dealing with a fixed term lease agreement. The next step is then to confirm whether your landlord is a natural person or a juristic entity. For today's purposes, our landlord is a natural person. And then the last step, you need to confirm whether your tenant is a natural or juristic person. Our tenant is a natural person. You are then required to validate this information. Our last step is probably our most important step because we need to make sure the information is as accurate and concise as possible. Your first step is to fill out your default date. I used the example earlier of rent being due on the 1st. If your rent is due on the 1st and your tenant fails to pay the rent and your tenant is in breach of the agreement, the 1st of the month will be your default date. The amount due relates to costs arising from the lease agreement. So this could, for example, relate to your outstanding deposit. It could relate to outstanding rental or utilities. The contact information is the contact person and the contact number your tenant must reach out to should they want to enter into a payment arrangement for the outstanding rental. Once that step is complete, we scroll down. This page also confirms the payment profile information and it confirms that your tenant is in fact in breach of the lease because they have not paid their rental. The delivery options, there are a few options at your disposal. The first option is that you can send the letter via registered post. If we click on this drop-down box, it needs to reflect the information that is contained in your domicile clause in your lease agreement. We must bear in mind that the domicile clause is how your tenant elects to receive legal processes. So this drop-down clause needs to reflect that information accurately. You can also notify your tenant that they have received a letter of demand via SMS. You also have the option of emailing the letter of demand to your tenant. Please bear in mind that if your tenant has not elected to receive legal processes via email, you should not be serving the letter of demand via email only. You also have the option of sending a copy of the letter of demand to yourself for record purposes. If you are using the TPN lease pack, our lease agreements also make allowance for deemed receipt. If you are hand delivering the letter, it is deemed to have been received on the date of delivery. If you are sending it via prepaid registered post, it is deemed to have been received on the 5th business day after the letter was sent. If you are sending your letters of demand via email or fax, it is deemed to have been received on the date of delivery. The final step in sending the letters of demand from the TPN system is to confirm that you would like this letter to be sent via the above delivery options. So all you need to do is tick that box and send your letter of demand. We understand the importance of maintaining good relationships with your tenants. Therefore, TPN is a registered credit bureau and we encourage you to place us in the middle and send letters of demand from our system. Should you need further clarity on anything that was discussed today, please contact our help desk or our legal department, or you can leave any questions or feedback in the comment sections below. Thank you and see you at our next training session.